Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. As always, thank you for taking time out of your day to watch the video. I really appreciate all of the continued support. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and discuss today. So before we get into these topics, do me a big favor. If you do end up enjoying the video or finding it informative, be sure to leave it a like. It really helps the videos out more than you know. And if you are new here to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. The first topic we're talking about, Horizon Forbidden West, more specifically how Guerrilla Games is already teasing the third game. So this is reading once again from PlayStation Lifestyle, where they say Guerrilla Games is already thinking about a Horizon Forbidden West sequel, acknowledging that Aloy's latest journey ended with a cliffhanger much like the original. Speaking to VGC 24/7, creative director Matthias de Jong said that there is plenty of material for the team to explore further and develop new storylines with, and ultimately create new mysteries along the way. While Guerrilla Games seems to be entertaining the idea of a direct sequel, de Jong is quick to point out that the developers can craft new experiences based on existing material, so it doesn't necessarily have to carry Forbidden West's story further. Horizon is really about mystery. Each of our stories has been about uncovering mysteries in both the old world and the present day when the game takes place, de Jong told VG 24/7. Indeed, there is plenty of backstory that we can tap into to develop new storylines and create new mysteries from what we've already established, and indeed this game ends with another big cliffhanger where we're setting up some big things for the next game once again. De Jong stopped short of teasing a location, but offered some insight into how the studio came up with the Forbidden West. He said that it sounded mysterious and dangerous enough for Aloy to venture there, and storylines from the old world just came together with the setting perfectly. So just in case there was any doubt, Guerrilla Games confirms that they are working on a third Horizon game that will be a sequel to Horizon Forbidden West, and it wouldn't surprise me if this ends up being the final game in the main series, where they kind of wrap it up as a trilogy. And anybody who did complete Horizon Forbidden West, you'll know that they definitely made it obvious that they are setting some pretty significant things up for the third game. There's no doubt that it could go in many different directions, and I do have to kind of wonder, with the way they set things up, where exactly they could go with this and how they could end up kind of wrapping this entire series up in this way. But still, I think this is good, because a third game for Horizon, I think what will be really important for it is for them to really do some interesting stuff with the PS5 hardware, knowing it will be a PlayStation 5 exclusive and it's not going to be made for the PS4. If work on the third Horizon game has already started, which it probably did, then they are no doubt building the game from the ground up with the PS5, starting with the PS5, to whereas Horizon Forbidden West started with the PS4. And I really enjoyed a lot of the things that they brought to the table with Horizon Forbidden West, but I think that them going next gen only, or current gen only I should say, with the third game, I think it opens up a big opportunity for them to really do some very interesting things potentially to allow the third game to really stand out from the first game and Forbidden West. So I'm excited to see what they end up doing. What I will say is it will probably be a long time, understandably so, until we see or hear anything significant about the third Horizon game. They did just ship Forbidden West, so, you know, they can take all the time they need to make sure they can get it right and wrap it up. But that doesn't mean we're not going to be hearing from Guerrilla Games before then. We certainly will be. So yeah, let me know down in the comments below what you think about Guerrilla already kind of teasing the third game in the series, and let me know if you did complete Horizon Forbidden West, what you thought of the story. We're moving to the next topic, which is a very interesting rumor coming from a source that you certainly have to take with a pinch of salt, but nonetheless, what they're saying has some pretty significant implications if there is in fact any truth to it. Now, this is coming from the individual on Twitter that goes by the name Oops Leaks, which is a name that I just love saying, and they reveal more information about PlayStation. More recently, they've been giving us some info on some of Sony's first-party studios and what they're working on, such as Ben Studio and Naughty Dog, and we're going to see if this info turns out to be true, hopefully sooner rather than later. But this time, they're talking about something a little bit different. So they say here, Sony is considering the possibility of announcing some major games outside of big events. Some titles may be announced separately to distribute media attention. So this is the first part of what he's saying here, and I just want to focus on this briefly before we move on to the second part, because I think the second part is even bigger than what he's saying here, certainly more significant. But the idea that Sony would consider start announcing some major titles outside of events, I think that it actually makes complete sense, and there's really no reason for Sony to not do this. The only real reason I think Sony would not want to do this is if they didn't have enough to continue doing showcases. So if Sony only has a handful of games, new games to be announced, and they feel like, well, if we were to announce these games kind of spread out throughout the year, we wouldn't have anything left for a proper showcase, then I don't think they would do this. But what I've been told by Oops Leaks is that what he is trying to convey here, and what he has clarified to me, is that Sony apparently has so many titles in the works, they have so many new games that they can announce, that they feel as though they could actually afford to, and this is the way I kind of interpreted what he was saying, they could afford to distribute some reveals outside of their big showcases. And I think some people may be reading this as Sony is going to stop doing showcases. I don't see that ever happening, and that's not seemingly what Oops Leaks is trying to get at here, if this information is accurate. It seems like Sony will always continue to do showcases and events of some kind. I mean, you really have to think about the upside to doing these bigger events, to having these kind of big get-together moments. There's something that always need to happen to some extent. I think every game publisher knows this, and that's why no major game publisher is willing to announce that they're never doing events again. It just doesn't make any sense. But what is exciting about this is that Sony apparently has so many different games in development, and that makes sense because we've been hearing about all of these different games. We've been hearing about the growth of PlayStation Studios, how many of the AAA studios are now taking on 2, maybe even 3 or more projects at one time. They're acquiring more studios. So yeah, this is something we are seeing happen more and more within the industry, where publishers and developers are feeling more confident than ever before to just reveal their game on social media and let that kind of be the big news of the week. I can definitely see why Sony would want to get in on that if they can afford to do so, and it seems like they can. So to me, it sounds like the best of both worlds. I hope that this is what Sony does. They do their, annual big showcase event where they reveal quite a few new games, but in between that, maybe randomly throughout the months, they reveal a new game here, a new game there. I don't expect them to do something like a new game every month or even every 2 months. I think that would be certainly asking too much. But I'll be interested to see what you guys have to say about this. We are talking about the second aspect of the info he's giving out here, which has some massive implications if there is any truth to this. And there are going to be quite a few people who immediately write this off as just total nonsense, never going to happen. And I think that's understandable, but I do want to consider it for just a moment. He says here there's also a high chance that we'll see a free online play comeback if the new PlayStation Plus ends up being successful. He continues by saying PlayStation Plus subscribers will have special benefits in first-party live service games. I don't know about the development of direct PS3 emulation, which I've asked a lot within DMs lately, but for me, it makes more sense than cloud streaming servers with real consoles. So he kind of just, lets people know that he hasn't heard anything about the PS3 emulation. But this is, again, a very big deal if there is any truth to this. If there's any truth that Sony is having conversations that maybe we can potentially remove the online paywall within PlayStation Plus, depending on how successful the new PlayStation Plus tier system is, this would be a big play for Sony. Now, it's understandable why many people would immediately jump to the conclusion that that's never going to happen. That is just not even in the question. Sony would be losing a huge chunk of revenue just like that for seemingly no reason if they were to do something like this. And that is true. There's no doubt that they would lose millions of PS Plus subscribers because there are, you would assume, millions of PS Plus subscribers who are only subscribed to play online games. They would lose a lot. But there is one aspect to this that does make it seem, in my opinion, possible. I don't want to say it's likely, but I do think it's possible. I want to focus on the fact that Jim Ryan made it clear in his most recent interview that he does not believe, and Sony does not believe, that the future of gaming and the future of Their growth, that being PlayStation's growth and their future success, does not lie in a Netflix/Spotify-like service, or in other words, a Game Pass-like service. They believe that their future growth and success lies in successful live service games, like some of the bigger live service games we already see kind of, dominating every single year, and they have been for a long time now. This is where Sony sees their big success. It is not outside the realm of possibility to think that in the long run, not next year, not the year after that, but I'm talking like the next 5 to 10 years, Sony may actually consider doing something like this if they truly believe that the future success for them lies in live service titles. Because what that means is that many of these live service titles will be free to play. Sony, as of right now, does not require PlayStation Plus for free-to-play titles. But if there are any live service titles that they do think can succeed with a price tag, like a $20, $40, maybe even $60 price tag, you can kind of understand why maybe they would want to remove that online barrier. Because when it comes to live service games, the success is found through microtransactions. And we're seeing games such as Grand Theft Auto Online implement their own monthly subscription services within these live service games for $5 a month. And you have to imagine that millions of people are going to subscribe to that, regardless of what we think about it. This is an avenue that Sony could take. And honestly, if you think about it, it might make more sense in the long run if this is where they truly believe their success lies, for them to do something like this. But I don't want to get ahead of myself, and I certainly understand that there are going to be people that are like, look, man, you're getting your hopes up. You're making it seem like Sony's going to just remove the online paywall. I don't expect that. I would say it would be an incredible thing if Sony ended up doing this at some point in time. They would certainly win a lot of goodwill, like a ton. It would be a huge move, but they would lose a lot of money. And that's why it seems pretty much unbelievable. I mean, we have to remember that Sony was the one who offered free online play with the PS3, and that was a big deal for them during the PS3 and Xbox 360 era, because it's what, made it easy for a lot of people who didn't want to be charged for that and didn't want to pay for that to choose the PS3 to play their online multiplayer games over the Xbox 360. But Sony's not in that position anymore with the PS3. They are well beyond that. So it's kind of difficult to look back at that and use that as a reason for maybe why Sony would consider it. There is one other thing I want to bring up here before ending this video. And that is, maybe it's possible that Microsoft is getting ready to remove the Xbox Live Gold paywall. We've heard a few rumors throughout the past year and a half from certain Xbox insiders that apparently that is something that in the long run, Microsoft wants to get rid of, because all they care about is Game Pass. Game Pass is the future for them, and at some point, they're going to feel like maybe this Xbox Live Gold paywall is just getting in the way of growth of Game Pass. We don't know if that's what they plan to do, but if it is, certainly that's something Sony might have to consider and they might have to contend with, and they're going to have to maybe deal with this possibility, a reality at some point, where if Xbox removes the gold paywall, it's not going to be a good look if Sony is still requiring it with PlayStation Plus. Surely Sony will have to match that. But again, this is just rumor territory, and we have no idea if there's any truth to this. For all we know, Sony is not considering this at all. That's why I encourage everybody to take it with a pinch of salt, but it's still very interesting to think about, and certainly brings up some interesting conversations if there is any truth to it. That's going to do it for the video though, guys. Be sure to leave your thoughts down in the comments below. I'll be interested to see what you have to say. Leave the video a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.